Hey guys, welcome. I'm Catherine and this is Little Bits of Heaven Homestead. Today I'd like to share some tips and tricks with you on dehydrating fruit. And I'm specifically working on strawberries today, but this rule of thumb kind of applies to all fruit and really anything you're going to dehydrate in general. So I prefer the Nesco brand dehydrator. It is middle of the road. There's definitely cheaper models out there. There is definitely more expensive models out there. But this one has done me well through the years and I can't complain about it. So this week on the homestead, and I apologize for the background noise, that is my pressure canner. It's full right now. It's got 7 quarts of chicken broth. Well, it's actually bone broth in there. And then if you can see over my shoulder there, that's 25 pints of canned chicken. It came off of 4 Cornish crosses. Guys, I am so excited. And they weren't actually my birds, they were my neighbor's birds, and they gifted them to me. I went over and helped them process, and they gave me birds in return. Super excited about that. So last week I dehydrated some strawberries, and then I thought I should share with you guys. So when I started, and this is all gonna seem to like such common sense, but when I started, I knew nothing because I didn't grow up with this lifestyle. So I figured if I had these questions when I started, chances are good somebody else has questions too. So where do you start? Well, you gotta get yourself a dehydrator. You can use solar dehydrators and they are just as viable, just as good as anything that uses electricity if you're in the right environment and probably right season as well. Like I would think summer would probably be better than say middle of winter if it's snowing outside. So take those things into factor, and you can't go wrong with an electric because it doesn't matter what you've got going on inside your house, it'll compensate for it. So there again, I don't have any affiliation with Nesco, I'm just saying that that's the one that I use. Tips and tricks that I have learned is sometimes dehydrating is frustrating. Like stuff sticks on these trays. I'll show you a tray. That's a tray. And you can see there is lots of little gaps and lots of little areas for anything sticky. And think of things like bananas and fruit in general, meat, loves to get caught in the little crevices and stick. So things that I have learned through the years on dehydrating is you can lightly oil the surface of the tray. I prefer avocado oil, anything lightly, you want to go with a light taste. You don't want to use like a heavy olive oil where that may overpower the flavor of whatever it is you're dehydrating. And you don't want to oil it heavy because you don't want a bunch of residual oils on the food. That would make it really hard to dehydrate it. So something I experimented with last week for the first time ever, and I had my reservations about it, but it was parchment paper. Oh my gosh, guys, this stuff was fantastic. I prefer to be a no waste or a low waste homestead, and so I had some concerns about using it because I prefer to not use something that I just throw away. But I can tell you that I was totally impressed with the end product. It came out drier and more consistent than my tray that I did not use the parchment paper on. So I wanted to throw that out there as a possibility for you. Plus, cleanup was ridiculously easy because I don't have to scrub the trays and I just gotta toss something in the trash. So mixed emotions on that. Do with it what you will, but I wanted to share that tip and trick with you. So anytime you are dehydrating anything, if you throw this in there whole as it is probably gonna take forever to dehydrate. So what you wanna do is you just take this, I don't hull my strawberries, I just cut off the end, and then I do thin slices. And you wanna be pretty consistent because if you've got a big variable as far as your thickness, they're gonna dehydrate at different rates. So if you can, try and be very consistent here on your thickness. Shoot for about, I go for about 1/4 of an inch. I know some people will do thinner. When we're doing meat like jerky, we go paper thin, like paper thin. So there again, that's up to your preference. You will know that it's done and ready to be taken out of your dehydrator when you can bend it and it breaks, ideally, but if you just bend, and that means that there's still some water content in there, not necessarily a bad thing, but you can look for beads of water that develop on the surface. Think of things coming out of your dehydrator like a cookie coming out of the oven. When you first take a cookie out, it's gonna be really soft when it's warm. So in order to test for accuracy, what you need to do is turn your dehydrator off for about half an hour, and then you're gonna get a true test of the moisture content in the food within. But if you take it out right away while it's still warm and test it at that point, it's gonna be just like a fresh baked cookie. It's still gonna be soft and it's not gonna give you an accurate reflection. So do turn it off for a little bit to test your doneness. If you think it's done and you put it into your jar and then you notice some condensation on the sides, don't fret. That doesn't mean that it's trash. It just means that it has excess water content, and you can take it and dump it back into your dehydrator and run it some more. Something you do need to do, and it's not going to kill you if you don't, but it is recommended to condition your product once it's in the jar, and that's just a fancy term for shaking it. If you do that 2 or 3 times a day, what that's going to do is just redistribute whatever it is that you've got in your jar, and any residual moisture content it'll give it an opportunity to air out, so you don't want it caught in between layers. That's all you're doing, is redistributing the product so that if there is residual moisture, it has an opportunity to continue to evaporate. So wanted to show you, this is about half a pint, because this is a pint jar and I got about half, and that came from a 16-ounce or a 1-pound package of strawberries. So do know that if you're planning on dehydrating in mass and you think that you're just going to have tons and tons and tons of product, that most of what is contained in fruit and meat is water. And so the mass itself is going to be greatly condensed. So that's not necessarily a bad thing, especially when you're looking at long-term storage. You can put oxygen absorbers in these. Depending on how long they're going to sit on my shelf, I do choose to put oxygen absorbers in some. In this particular situation, this isn't going to last very long in my kitchen. And in fact, I only do this because for some reason the kid, when I dehydrate, she eats this like candy. And I do know that dehydrating does concentrate the sugar content, so this probably tastes a lot sweeter than a fresh berry. And I have noticed this is really good for my budget. If I dehydrate, she will not only eat it, but it doesn't mold in my refrigerator. Whereas I've noticed when I buy fresh stuff, we aren't always totally on top of getting to things, and it's not unusual for me to find moldy fruit in my produce drawer. And so this has been one way to not only ensure that she will eat it, but it helps save my budget, because rather than tossing food, I'm putting it in a state that is not going to go bad. So I don't know if this was of help to you guys. If you found this interesting in any way, shape, or form, please give it a thumbs up. If you think this might help somebody, please feel free to share it. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. And that is really all I got for you guys today. I hope this was helpful, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.